Okay, hi everyone. Today is August 12th, and this is the Cluster API office hours. Cluster API is a sub-project of SIG Cluster Lifecycle. Please adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct and use the raise hand feature on Zoom if you'd like to speak. Also add your name to the attendee list on the meeting notes, and if you have any discussion topics that you'd like to add to the agenda, go ahead and add those now under discussion topics. So I don't think we have any PSAs today. For those who weren't here last week, the 038 release of Cluster API was out, and 039 is planned for end of August, I believe. Okay, so we'll just get started with the discussion topics unless anyone has any other PSAs they want to add that weren't on the notes. Okay, so first one is the proposal for external remediation.
Yes, hi. Just wanted to remind everyone the external remediation proposal is still standing, and we had some discussion on Slack which I wanted to open up here, but I see that most of the folks involved in this discussion are not present. So just wanted to say that if anyone wants to take another look at the proposal, it is ready for reviews. And we also need to decide if we want to change the internal remediation to use the CR annotation, the CR approach, as Jason suggested. So we can either discuss this in a separate meeting or have another discussion in Slack, whatever anyone wants.
Thanks. Do you have a link to the proposal for people who don't have it already? If you could add it to the doc, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Thanks. And is there a deadline on it or lazy consensus date already, or is it just open for now, just at the review stage?
It's just open.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Nir about the proposal for external remediation?
Yeah, can you hear me, Prakash here?
Yeah, go ahead, Prakash.
So the external remediation, actually I reviewed and I felt that we need to step back before we move further on that, as it's a complex beast. That's my thinking, at least.
Why do you think it's complex?
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain why do you think it is complex?
The reason I see is one is about the quorum of the cluster, that is the nodes, and then the other, assuming that is resolved, then the question is, how do we remediate? Who is responsible for it? So how do we really externalize it? In the sense, is it coming from the bare metal side of it, or is it coming from the ionic side of it, or whatever the mass side of it? And how do we ensure that the node is which is not now in the pool? It is either you throw it out of the pool and you are not. Then how do we know that this is correct? So basically, I could not really understand that will we be able to successfully do it without understanding the implications of it, because we have to deal with the raft, we have to deal with what is the concept of the, whether it is in the pool, it is out of the pool. If it is out of the pool, does it break the network segments, and how do we really deal with something, except to say that, okay, we can probably give a status saying that, hey, this is not in the, this should not be in the list. This needs some fixing, but is it going to, are we going to fix it within a given time frame, or somebody else is going to fix it? And is it just an alert is enough? Or if you try to remediate by alert manually, that is different. Or what is doable within the particular watch, if we watch a particular node. So my thinking has been, I'm struggling with the idea, and I really, after going through the document which is there, I still felt that I wrote something and then withdrew back. So my thinking is we need to have more thinking before jumping into it and making that this happens.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for the feedback. I think we might be mixing here two different type of remediations. So all the quorum stuff you mentioned is related, I guess, to the KCP remediation, which is something else. And in any case, the user can configure the remediation type it wants to. If you don't want any type of remediation, you can just not use it. It's an opt-in feature, so the user can decide whatever it wants to do. If he wants to remediate bare metal hosts for masters for control plane node, so he can do it. If he doesn't want to, just want an alert, maybe he can do it as well. So this is an opt-in feature. So that's my point of view, at least.
Okay, thank you. Prakash, does that help a little bit answer your
Yeah,
question?
if I am talking on the wrong topic, maybe, but I'm still looking at it. What the cluster API includes the health check, and so as long as it's only limited to health check and somebody else doing the remediation, that's a different thing. But otherwise, specific remediation requirements such as KCP, if you are excluding, then it's fine with me. Then I think it's okay.
Maybe it's worth clarifying in the non-goals of the proposal what's in scope and what's out of scope, if that wasn't clear.
Yeah, I think that will help. Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Thanks. Any other questions about external remediation? I don't see any hands raised, so I'm just going to keep going. Okay, Mel, you have a question about KCP upgrade behavior?
Yeah, thanks. So I would like to get a quick confirmation from people here who are much more knowledgeable about this. Whenever we're trying to do an upgrade of the KCP, and let's say there's a misconfiguration from the users, or like anything that prevents the upgrade to go through, and the user like changes the KCP back to something that is supposed to be working, is this kind of a supported scenario where the node would actually be deployed with a new configuration or not? Because basically what we've seen in our scenario, so we might have a problem somewhere or a bug or whatever, is that the kubeadm config that is generated from the for the first upgrade is actually not modified afterwards whenever the user has modified the KCP to have it back to a correct version, let's say. And then whenever like the KCP tries to create a new node, it still uses this old kind of kubeadm config.
Is there an issue log for this?
No, we are at the moment trying to understand what would be the expected behavior.
Fabrizio, you have your hand up.
Yeah, if you want, I can try to answer the question. So As far as I know KCP, the expected behavior for me is that you change KCP, you schedule an upgrade, KCP starting rolling out the new nodes, and if in the middle of the operation you basically define a new desired state, KCP will try to align to the new desired state. So I do expect that what we are talking should work. But if you please, if you observe some strange behavior, if you can open an issue with as much information to reproduce, I will be happy to jump on it.
Okay, great, thanks. Just wanted to confirm that that's how it's supposed to work. Cool.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Fabrizio. Cool. All right. So Warren, metadata YAML.
Yes. So I just wanted to bring this up. We had an issue recently where a provider had upped its a new release version, and I feel like we are right now we're kind of relying. What I noticed from looking at the provider releases, we're relying on the cluster kernel embedded metadata to for it to check the provider contracts. However, so the case I'm making is, can we, or the case I'm advocating for is, can we have metadata YAML as part of the provider releases, like provider release artifacts? That way, certain issues like that specific one, like 3418, we wouldn't run into as more often. Because right now what's happening is people have to constantly update cluster kernel CLI to making sure that, like, if something goes wrong, the default would be, the reaction should be to like update cluster kernel, when ideally it'd be nice if the provider releases in this specific case had the metadata YAML, and then cluster kernel can just pull the latest contract information from those files. So I don't know if people had a reason why, because I noticed that a lot of the provider releases don't actually ship metadata.yaml in the artifacts, just the cluster templates and the infrastructure components. Just making it aware, and if there's any reason why we don't want to ship metadata YAML, you can reach out offline. I'll talk here. Yeah.
Thanks. I can speak from Azure perspective, from the Azure provider perspective. I don't think there's any reason why we're not shipping it. It just, I wasn't aware that that was something we'd want to do. So I don't see any blocker, but does anyone else have anything that comes to mind why we would not want to do that? Nader says same for Kappa in the chat. I think it's just a matter of if we did want to rely on that, it'd have to be really well documented, and we'd have to make sure that all the providers know about it, and it's not a change that happens suddenly.
Yeah, that makes sense. I believe it is. I linked in the provider contract for cluster kernel. There is a it's there in the cluster kernel provider contract. But if there's any other places that we'd like to see, then just let me know and I can remedy that.
I think it'd be great if we could open issues in like providers to have like track making that change, adding it to the release artifacts. That'd be a good step.
Awesome. I can do that.
Yeah, thanks. Fabrizio.
I only would like to add a small clarification. So basically the metadata YAML is something that links a release to a version of the cluster API contract. For instance, it tells that CAP v05 release series is linked to v1 alpha 3. Okay. And up to now, everything worked because most of the provider basically are keeping the same release series, so 0 to 5 in this case, without changing. But the problem is when you basically change the release series. So when you create a new, the 0.6, and Cluster Cattle cannot link this release to a Cluster API contract. So maybe we can embed in Cluster Cattle some sort of defaulting rules, but I see a risk on this, so I will take charge of opening an issue in CAPI to discuss how a possible solution will be to the problem, how we can make the life of the provider easier. And if there is no good solution, maybe it is better to be explicit and ask the provider to explicitly declare for each version which Cluster API release contract that they are using.
Thanks. Any other questions, comments, concerns about this? All right. So that's the end of our discussion topics. Unless anyone has anything to add last minute. But otherwise, I do see some new faces, and I skipped the introduction part at the beginning of the meeting. But since we have some extra time, if anyone would like to go ahead and introduce themselves, if you're new to this community and this meeting, and just say hi and tell us why you're here and what you're interested in, I'll give some space for that. So I'll just mute and go ahead and unmute if you'd like to say hi.
Hey everyone, I'm Xander. Nice to see you, Cecile. It's been a while. I work for Apple, and here hanging out, we're looking at possibly setting up virtual cluster for conformance with Cluster API. And so I'm just kind of here to listen and learn for now. And yeah.
Cool, great to have you. Anyone else?
Hi, everybody. Chris Samp. I'm with VMware. Just trying to get a pulse on what's up with Cluster API as we work with it more. So kind of lurking and following along.
Awesome, welcome.
Hi, I'm John Terpstra. I'm with Dell EMC. I have an interest in the Kubernetes ecosystem area. Looking to develop a set of cluster standard guidelines for use in particular telco applications.
Awesome, welcome. Anyone else? Cool. Well, it's great to see all the new people here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out on Slack if you're not comfortable like asking in this forum. I know it's a lot of people, but great to have you. All right, so I think this is all for today, unless anyone has any questions for the group or any comments. If not, we'll end it here. I don't see any hands raising. All right, I hope you're all taking some time off and enjoying the summer, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Everybody. Thanks.